A new school year means a new season of Sports Talk Philadelphia, our 22nd one to be exact. Our panelists are going to continue to bring you guys live updates and highlights on the pro Philadelphia sports team around us. And welcome back to Sports Talk Philadelphia. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm your host for this season of Sports Talk Philadelphia, Caleb Flieger. I'm joined by the new co-producer, Aiden Tiksinski. He's back for another season. Aiden, how you doing?
Doing well. Happy to be here.
Good. We have Tyler Small, who produces Sportsline and Sports Talk Philadelphia. How you doing, Tyler?
Good, man. Happy to be here to talk some Philly sports.
And we have Shane Nolan back for another season. Shane?
Good to be here.
So we're going to jump right into what seems to be the talk of the town right now, which is the Philadelphia Eagles, who had a dominant victory week one versus the Atlanta Falcons, 32-6, where Jalen Hurts looked great as QB1, and Nick Sirianni gets his first NFL head coaching win. Jalen Hurts, 326 total yards and 3 touchdowns. Our first-round pick, Devontae Smith, which seems that every Philadelphia Eagles fan has been waiting for him to play. He shined in his debut, 6 catches, 71 yards, and a touchdown. And Aiden, I just want to start with you. What is your reaction to the week one victory for the Philadelphia Eagles?
Yeah, I'm really happy about this win. Definitely was nervous going into the season just because we didn't know too much about Jalen Hurts. He definitely shined at moments last year. There was other times where he looked a little bit shaky, never looked really rattled. It just looked like that he was still getting ready for NFL defenses to be a bit tougher than they are in college. But I'd say that the team looked great. Biggest thing for me, we actually ran the football this year. Sirianni with the Colts, that was a team that ran the ball a lot. The Eagles ran the ball 31 times on Sunday with 3 different players, so that makes me very happy going forward in the season.
Tyler, I want to go to you. What was probably your biggest weakness and your biggest strength to what you saw in week one?
I mean, there's plenty of strengths, obviously, in that lopsided of a victory. We look at how great Jalen Hurts' start has been. If you really look back to last season, now in his last 5 starts, he has the 8th most total offensive yards in NFL history. It's a little bit skewed, obviously, with how quarterback play has changed, but he's been great. A 126.4 passer rating is the highest since the NFC Championship game for Nick Foles. So plenty on offense, there's plenty of strengths, obviously, and you talked about the run game as well, but I think defensively, the fact that they did not allow a touchdown while also not getting a turnover, that really shows how strong of a defensive unit they are, because, I mean, a mistake coming their way, a forced fumble or an interception, obviously, really helps you depending on where you are on the field, but being able to hold them consistently throughout the game was the biggest takeaway. I really don't think there were many, if any, weaknesses from this game.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. And one of the biggest, obviously upsides for me watching that game was seeing Jalen Hurts play, because obviously the team electing him captain, it shows that he is the man of that locker room and he's earned players' respect in that locker room. And that's a big thing to say when you have a lot of veteran leaders like Brandon Graham, Fletcher Cox on that team, where they've been in the league for a while and a guy coming in his second season as a second-round pick is already captain. I think that speaks to a lot. Next thing I want to go to, Aiden, is do you have a surprise player that you've seen from week one? I mean, someone that pops in my head is Kenny Gainwell, the 6th-round pick, running back. He had a touchdown in his first game, and he saw a lot of action. I think he had 9 carries in that game, so surprise player for week one.
Yeah, I guess great minds think alike, because that was the exact player that I had. He just looked very comfortable in the offense. I like the fact that the Eagles did use him paired with Miles Sanders. That's not something we really saw a whole lot under Doug Peterson, his 2 running backs getting a lot of the carry workload. So I'm glad that he really stepped up. I also think Jordan Mailata, he had a great great season as a starter for the first time in the NFL. This year he looked great with that amazing hit that he had on the Falcons cornerback. Not sure if that guy even got off the field yet. So both of those guys I'm really happy about that they played that well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that Jordan Mailata. I mean, he got paid, I think, the day before. He got a new contract, a 4-year contract, $60 million, the day before the game started. I mean, and it showed how much money he's worth with those big blocks he had in that game. Tyler, do you have a surprise player from week one?
I was going to talk about Mailata, so I'm glad you hit the head on the nail on that. So I guess if I'm switching, I got to go with Darius Slay. He was incredible in this one. He was kind of questionable coming in terms of his health, which would have, I think, really altered this game because he is the most feared D-back on this team. But he only had 1 pass deflection. He doesn't have a ton of numbers that'll surprise you. But if you look at the matchups that he had, and you were talking about Swiss Army knives, he is certainly one in this defense. Whenever he was on a primary receiver in one-on-one coverage, he only allowed 5 catches. And that included Kyle Pitts, who was supposed to have a really big opening for this Falcons offense. and he bodied him for only 2 catches. So I think his presence, being able to go for a wideout or a tight end or a slot receiver, was huge defensively.
Yeah, I agree. And something to make this win even more sweet is that every person in our division lost. The Cowboys lost, the Washington football team lost, and the Giants lost. So that means the Eagles sit at the top of the NFC East by themselves at 1-0. Early leaders in the NFC East. I mean, do you guys expect this to keep up? I mean, I hope they do. I mean, Washington and the Giants play Thursday night tonight, and then you have the Cowboys playing the Chargers. I mean, Chargers aren't an easy opponent for the Cowboys. I know the Eagles go into Dallas week 3, so big week 2 game for the Eagles against the 49ers. What do you expect? I mean, what do you expect for week 2?
Yes, so I'm expecting a lot of the same things from week 1. Our defense, they did really well against the Falcons. I expect the same thing against the 49ers. 49ers definitely have a more high-powered offense. It looked like scoring 41 points week 1. So I could definitely see that being a little bit of an issue. And really our offense just needs to keep playing the way it was, and I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, and the 49ers, they do have 2 key starters out there. Raheem Mostert, their starting running back, he's out for this season. And Jason Verrett, their starting cornerback, will be out for this game. So two key losses for the 49ers that are going to benefit the Eagles, because the Eagles are actually pretty healthy for once going into week 2 of the NFL season. Tyler, what's your analysis for this upcoming week?
I think it's a huge stepping stone. I mean, Falcons, a much lesser opponent than the 49ers will be, obviously. And it really is going to come down more, as opposed to offense and defense, comes down to Sirianni. This is a well-coached 49ers team that year in, year out really puts up a better product on the field than perhaps the pieces that they have in place necessarily should on their own. So it's going to be a mental battle, and there's going to be a lot of film watched from this first week where everything seemed to be easy. It's going to take a lot of this youth, especially on offense. I mean, we look at the 3 touchdown receivers. They were all the top 3 picks that came in the last draft when you look at skill positions. So it's a lot of youth there, obviously, which is exciting. But if push comes to shove, who is going to be that guy that takes the next step and puts the team on their back? And I think that's what the 49ers are going to force out of this Eagles offense.
Yeah, and just going back to the Falcons game real quick, I also thought it was very impressive as a new group as they are, with a whole new coaching staff with head coach Nick Sirianni. You have a new quarterback leading that room, a bunch of new places in different positions. I mean, I just thought how good they looked and how fluent. They didn't look like a new team. They looked like a team that's been playing together for multiple years. And just to expand on that, how impressive was Nick Sirianni in his first week as Eagles head coach?
Yeah, I thought that he looked really comfortable as a play caller. That was a big criticism of him when he got hired by the Eagles, is he had not been the play caller as an offense coordinator in Indianapolis. So he came here. I think he called a great game. The offense, as I was saying, they looked really balanced. You had multiple wide receivers catch the ball, which, again, not something that happened under Doug Peterson. So I think that the offense looked really comfortable. I thought the defense looked great as well. So I think that so far I'll give them an A+. We'll see what happens the rest of the season.
Awesome. I'd have to agree with that. Tyler, I want to go to you. For week 2 against the 49ers, what is a player for the Eagles and for the 49ers to watch in this upcoming game?
It's tough to say that Miles Sanders had a quiet game, considering he had 130 combined yards, including 74 just true rushing, like Aiden talked about. But he is going to be the difference maker. I think that there is going to be a precedence taken on the aerial attack, because Hurts had too much luck there and too much ease kind of going down the field. So I think they'll take that away from him and see if he's willing to accept the check down. I mean, that's usually the qualm that we see from a guy from college. I mean, he has 5 starts now, but it is 2 seasons in an NFL program now. And if you just look at the difference you see between college open and NFL open, I think that's going to be a lot tighter in this 49ers game. So we'll see if he still has that calm composure to be able to not force it in a tight window and instead take the easy yards. And if you put the ball in Miles Sanders' hands with an open field in front of him, it's going to be a good game for the Eagles.
Yeah, another interesting point that the Eagles have to keep an eye on is rookie quarterback Trey Lance, because the 49ers, they have pretty much two starting quarterback caliber players in Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. And we saw in the 49ers week 1 game, they actually used both quarterbacks. Trey Lance, he only had 1 passing attempt, but it was for a touchdown. So Aiden, how do you think the Eagles should prepare for 2 starter caliber quarterbacks?
Yeah, I would definitely prepare for Jimmy G to get all the playing time. Maybe Trey Lance again will get in a few plays in the red zone like we saw week 1 for them. But I really think they just got to prepare for Jimmy G. And if Trey Lance goes in, then they can make adjustments. But I don't think that should be their main concern going into this game.
And just before we wrap up the Eagles, let's go around the table and give our predictions for what we think is going to happen in week 2. So I'm going to go first. I think that whenever people say the Eagles are going to lose, they usually end up winning. So I'm going to go Eagles. I'm going to go 32-17 Eagles.
So I'm thinking somewhere around there. I think the offense is going to be really good. I expect the defense to let up a little bit because the 49ers offense is better than the Falcons. My score prediction is 34 Eagles, 21 Falcons. Or 49ers, my bad.
I think it's more of a stalemate. I think it's going to stay below 20 points for both sides, and for that reason, I don't like the Eagles in this matchup. I think it's going to be a field goal type of game, 17-14. I think the 49ers do take it, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw 49ers fans are dressing up the Rocky statue again, but hey, Minnesota Vikings fans know what happened after that. So I'm expecting another big victory for the Eagles and to go 2-0 and atop the NFC East still and go into Week 3 heading the Cowboys on primetime football. It's going to be a good game. Now we're going to transition into the Phillies, sadly. I mean, the Phillies have just been a roller coaster of a team during this year. I mean, at one point a few months ago, they're in first place, and then they're back in third place. I mean, they just keep going up and down. I mean, they trail the Braves right now by 3.5 games with, I think there's only around 15 to 18 games remaining. So, Aiden, I just want to go to you. What is happening with the Phillies right now?
So I think the biggest thing that's happening to Phillies, and we talked about this last season about what their biggest concerns are going this. We talked about bullpen being the biggest one, and unfortunately that has been their weakness. Even bringing in Adam Kennedy, he has blown a lot of saves, a lot more than he did when he was with the Rangers. So besides Hector Neris, once we took him out of that closing position, he's been our most solid bullpen pitcher. I don't think anyone thought that would be the case at this point in the season. So I think that it's just the bullpen is not up to par where it should be. Our starting pitchers have been hurt or ineffective. So I think those are the two biggest reasons why the Phillies are not in first place at this point.
Yeah, I want to bring Shane in as well right now. Shane, what do you think the biggest problem is with the Phillies right now, and do you think they'll make the playoffs?
Well, I have to agree with Aiden with the bullpen, but I have to say the offense this year has not been what we expected it to be. From last year being one of the top 5 offenses in Major League Baseball to this year being, I think, like one of the worst. But they're, especially because like after their 8-game winning streak back in the beginning of August, after that their offense just quieted down and everything. Aside from against the Washington Nationals, I mean, for whatever reason when they play them, they just know how to hit the ball, they know how to pitch. And to your point of them making the playoffs, unless their bullpen and the offense get it going, I don't think they'll make the playoffs if that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I believe another alarming thing with the Phillies is their farm system. I mean, you see a team like the LA Dodgers and how they're so good for a continuous amount of years is because they have a good farm system and they spend money. They don't care about spending money. And it seems like John Middleton doesn't want to spend money and the Phillies have no prospects. I mean, Alec Boehm, who's supposed to have a breakout year for the Phillies this year, he's sent down back to the Iron Pigs. Phillies had another tough loss with Rhys Hoskins. He's out for the year and he was their home run leader when he went out. So a couple of tough blows for the Phillies that have primarily set them up for not being in first place. And Tyler, I want to go to you. What's your stance on the Phillies right now?
I'm glad you brought up the minor league system, and they mean a special place in my heart, and I think Bryson Stott is going to be the future of the shortstop position, but there's really not a lot there. Dave Dombrowski has been known for this. He used to selling the farm and just winning now, and they're in this window. And for all the teams that are considered in their individual windows of going for a playoff push, the Phillies are the weakest. I mean, you guys talked about the offense, the bullpen. I could harp on those as well, but the one thing I want to focus on in particular, Jeff Passan, about a month ago, made a really good article after the trade deadline talking about strength of schedule. That's not something we talk about in baseball much, and it was really interesting to see that there were 7 teams that just punted on the season so far, and how many times teams trying to make a playoff push are playing them. The Phillies led, just having a lucky schedule with ease. They had 24 games coming up against teams actively trying to lose. In those games right now, they're 6-8. They haven't been able to take care of the teams that they are supposed to take care of, and that's the difference between a good team and a great team, is taking care of your business and not having a series like the Diamondbacks where you go in and get swept and only have one player have multi-hits.
Another point I want to go to that has been really disappointing this season is supposed to be our ace, Aaron Nola. He has 7-8 record on the season now with a 4.35 ERA, which is the highest he's ever had in the MLB. Shane, I want to go back to you. Is this a long-term concern with Aaron Nola, or is this just a season where he's not had his stuff going for him?
No, I think it's a long-term for him. Aside from his 2018 season when he was runner-up for the NL Cy Young, I mean, in 2019, at least until the beginning of August, and then throughout the rest of this season, he didn't pitch very well. Last season, he wasn't very good, and this year, throughout the season, he just seems, after like the 5th inning or so, he just seems like he just can't get anybody out. And also, in his last 7 games, he's 0-2 with a 4.91 ERA, with 20 hits and 20 earned runs he has given up. But yeah, I think this is a long-term concern for him. He's more so to me like a 4th starter on a good team at least. So yeah.
Aiden, I want to go to you. What do you think the Phillies should do with Aaron Nola if these struggles continue? If they make the playoffs and his struggles continue, do you see him getting traded in the offseason?
I don't, just because he's been so good for them for so long. I mean, this is only the first time since 2016 that his ERA has been over 4. So he's been really solid for them up until this season. It's just unfortunate that he's having a season this badly. So I don't think he'll get traded if he does badly in the playoffs, even if he does badly and they don't make the playoffs. I think if it continues next year and maybe even the year after, then there might be some talks about him being traded.
I don't want to talk about all bad things with the Phillies here. We're going to talk about the one positive, which is Bryce Harper. I mean, he's had a killer season. He's batting .307 with 32 home runs, 73 RBIs, and a 1.033 OPS, which is number 1 in baseball. So Bryce Harper has been the one good spot on this team, and it's kind of sad to see that he's having his best season as a Philly, and they still just can't seem to get over that hump into the playoffs. And Tyler, I want to go to you. Should Bryce Harper win National League MVP this year?
I don't think so. He deserves MVP votes, which is something that is respected in the field of baseball overall. I don't think he'll get it because, unfortunately, it's the baseball writers voting on it, and they only go by like the traditional statistics. But I mean, a 1.038 OPS, that's the best in baseball. For expected on-base percentage, he's the top. Expected slugging and runs created plus. He's leading all the advanced analytics stats. And I know you mentioned that it's sad that it's happening in a run that's not necessarily great for the Phillies, but the fact that he's put them on his back starting 53 consecutive games has been incredible for his leadership and his position for this team.
Yeah, the 53 consecutive game, that's obviously a big thing too, because he's had that back issue that all Phillies fans have known about. So it just shows his toughness and, Tyler's right, his leadership that he has with this team. One more quick thing with the Phillies before we wrap up. We're going to go around the table. Aiden, do the Phillies make the playoffs this year?
Fortunately, I don't think so. I think that they just have way too many weaknesses, and the teams that are even a little bit ahead of them in their division and the wild card just have a little bit more strength than they do.
Tyler?
They do not. The fact that the Dodgers have the number 1 locked up like that, there's just no way.
Shane?
I'm going to do the positive one here, and I'm just going to say yes. I think they do.
I'm going to go yes with Shane. I mean, I think Bryce Harper, he's going to put the Phils on his back even more than he has this season, and maybe we know if bullpen will step up. Maybe Aaron Nola throws a couple gem games like he used to. But that's all we got for the Phillies. And now we're going to move to another disappointing topic, which is the Sixers. Many of us seen the Sixers had a pretty interesting offseason. They re-signed Danny Green. They re-signed Furkan Korkmaz. They let go of Dwight Howard and signed Joel Embiid's best friend, Andre Drummond. And we also seen that Ben Simmons doesn't want to report to camp. He doesn't want to be a Philadelphia 76er anymore. So the teams that are interested in Simmons for a trade are the Timberwolves, the Cavaliers, the Raptors, the Spurs, and the Warriors. And Aiden, I want to go to you for this one. Do you want Ben Simmons to be traded, and what would you give up or what would you take for Ben Simmons?
I personally do want him traded. It's more the fact that everyone knows that his defense is great, probably one of the best defenders in basketball, if not the best. Biggest issue is he's let the team down in the playoffs multiple times, especially last year, passing the ball to Thibault when he had a wide open dunk. That's just the moment that sticks out in every Sixers fan that's the moment everyone knew that he should be gone. For me personally, I've been talking about this for a couple of years now that every year Simmons up for the trade block. I want D'Angelo Russell on the team. He's someone who has leadership as a point guard. He's a great scorer. When you look at his stats, last year averaged 19 points a game, 6 assists a game. Definitely not the caliber player defensive-wise that Simmons is, but still someone I think can lead the Sixers offensively.
Yeah, Ben Simmons overall, for me, I want him traded just because of the fact that we gave him a supermax contract, and all Philadelphia has asked for him to do is get better at his game, get better at your jump shot, improve your offensive game, and he just doesn't seem like he wants to do it. He wants to live that LA life and be in Hollywood Hills, which is fine with me. So whatever the Sixers need to do, I think you need to get him off this team and get what you need to get for him. I mean, I think at this point there's no rebuilding the trade value that he's already lost unless for some reason he wants to report to camp and play the first quarter of the season before the All-Star break, but I doubt it. And Tyler, I want to go to you. Do you think Ben Simmons is traded before camp, or do you think during camp when he's holding out?
I think it's going to be a similar situation to like a James Harden. I think the season will start because they're really, I mean, you're trading him at his lowest value. The fact that he's outwardly going out there talking about getting traded, which is a big thing in the NBA now, but also coming off a playoff performance like he did, obviously you're getting your lowest value as you can. And just the matchup that you can get for a trade aren't necessarily as great as you'd want to see. I mean, I would love to see them go after a De'Aaron Fox for the Kings. Someone that will be a complete difference, a quick, smaller guys to not kind of congest the lane like Ben Simmons does and live on the outside and utilize the great shooting that they acquired this year. Or just players along those calibers. I mean, you talk about the Cavaliers, so bringing in like Colin Sexton or something like that. That's obviously dream scenario stuff. I don't think they'll get as high of a caliber player just because it would have to be a package. And besides Ben Simmons, you really want to keep all the other pieces you have around.
Yeah, and another disappointment that Ben Simmons traded is I know all Sixers fans, we had that beautiful dream of Damian Lillard getting traded to us, but that sadly got shut down when he posted on social media that he's going to be returning to Portland again. So probably won't make the playoffs, but that is a sad case scenario for Sixers fans as we had a hope for that. Next, I want to head into Fast Five that everyone loves. So first question we're going to go with, I'm going to go to Shane for this one. Who wins the second wildcard spots in the National League and the American League?
In the National League, I think it's going to be the St. Louis Cardinals. I like their pitching staff, and I like their lineup with Goldschmidt and Arenado. And in the American League, I think it's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, Vladimir Guerrero Jr., what he's doing right now, leading the league in home runs, and also Calvin Biggio, and then their pitching staff, they all have a AL Cy Young candidate in Robbie Ray.
The next Fast Five question we're going to go to is to myself is, who was the MVP of the NFL during Week 1? And I got to go with Kyler Murray, quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals, as he had 290 yards passing, another 40 yards rushing with 5 total touchdowns, and he just completely destroyed the Tennessee Titans as that. I mean, going into the NFL season, everyone thought the Tennessee Titans were going to be a Super Bowl favorite, an AFC favorite, but Kyler Murray put them to sleep. I mean, put up, I think it was 38 points on them. I mean, their defense looks stellar. So I got Kyler Murray in Week 1 that MVP for the season. And next we're going to go to This Week in Baseball with Tyler Small.
Happy to have this back. I was so happy to see this in the schedule. I guess the only thing I could talk about over this break, the San Francisco Giants team. They're going to the World Series, whether you like it or not. It's a bold take, I know, but when I was talking back at last semester, at the beginning of the season, you look at this Giants team, and you just think, when are the Dodgers going to turn it on? When are the Padres going to turn it on? They're the third best team in this division. They become the first team to clinch in all of baseball a playoff spot. They didn't give it up. And it's been unbelievable what they've been able to do top to bottom with a team that, back to the glory years of that dynasty, 2012, 2014, 2016, going to the World Series and doing it. They still have that same crew. Buster Posey comes back and has an electric year. Brendan Crawford should have been all-star shortstop. He was incredible. Brandon Belt at the side, and then you still get it from young guys like Lamont Wade in that lineup and Garl Yastrzemski, just players like that just maybe the casual fan in baseball doesn't know, but you're going to know them because once they do this playoff run and continue to just win games the way that they do with ease, it's going to be unbelievable. And their pitching staff isn't half bad either. Kevin Gossman was a Cy Young candidate for a while. Descalfani's been doing it. Johnny Cueto's still on the up for them. I mean, it is an unbelievable team of just that nobody expected, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch, so get ready for it.
Next question we got is, who will win Rookie of the Year for the NFL? I'm going to go to my co-producer, Aiden, for this one.
Yeah, so I'd love to say Devontae Smith for it. Obviously, 6 catches, 71 yards, a touchdown. That's a pretty good first performance for rookie. However, we do know that the Rookie of the Year, same with MVP, is always offensively always goes towards the quarterbacks. So the 2 quarterbacks I'm looking at right now that have the best chance of winning Rookie of the Year, Trey Lance, obviously 1 pass for a touchdown already. That 49ers offense is pretty high power too, even with the injuries that they've been facing already. So I think that if he gets a starting job, he could win Rookie of the Year. I also think that when you look at Justin Fields for the Bears, obviously they struggled a bit in their first game. He got in a few plays. I could see him winning Rookie of the Year as well if he gets that playing time.
Yeah, I'm going to chip on that a little bit. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to get it. I mean, he had a rough Week 1 with his new head coach, Urban Meyer, but I definitely think Trevor Lawrence has the talent where he's not going to be throwing 3 interceptions a week. I mean, he's going to have those weeks where he's throwing 4, maybe 5 touchdowns in a week. That's how much talent Trevor Lawrence has. So I see Trevor Lawrence on the Jaguars. I think he's going to turn that organization around. I think he will win Rookie of the Year this year just because Aiden said it usually typically goes towards a quarterback on the offensive side. Last question we're going to go back to Aiden is your best team in college football currently.
Yeah, so best team right now is clearly Alabama by far. I mean, Mac Jones gets drafted to the NFL. Devontae Smith goes to the NFL. Jalen Waddle goes to the NFL. That's 3 top players. For most teams, that would be enough to set them back a few years. Nick Saban consistently wins at Alabama. I mean, you take a look at what they did. Their first game against University of Miami, that was a ranked game for opening night for college football. Alabama blows them out of the water, 44-13. Their quarterback, Bryce Love, 7 touchdowns, 0 interceptions in their first 2 games. He's already a Heisman favorite. The other team that I'm looking at, Penn State, just because I love Penn State football. I think Sean Clifford has done a lot better this year. I think that them going to Happy Valley, playing Auburn, and for this game, I think that they could potentially be in the college football playoff. But right now, I think Alabama is clearly #1 in college football.
Yeah, I bet a bunch of people who watch this are Penn State fans, and they're probably hoping that happens the same with you, Aiden. So I want to thank you for watching Sports Talk Philadelphia, our first episode. Thank you for watching again. Next week we'll be back in the same day, reporting probably the Eagles, Phillies, and Sixers again. I want to thank you for watching again, and don't forget to follow our socials on Twitter, and we're new to Instagram now. It's Sports Talk LTV. So thank you for coming again, and we'll see you guys next week.